Just as the couple leans in for a kiss, the husband turns his head and notices something. Their photographer neighbor across the way is also playing around with his wife, but Kelly thinks it's rude to spy on the neighbors like this.
No, we're not spying. We're just looking outside our window and they happen to be in our field of vision.
The couple across the street gets more and more bold. Shy little Kelly's face turns bright red in an instant. Afterward, she rushes into the bathroom, sprays on some perfume, dolls herself up, and slips into some sexy lingerie, ready to have some fun with her husband. But to her disappointment, she finds that Thomas has already fallen asleep. After work, Kelly and Thomas's greatest pleasure is spying on the neighbors across the way. They even start copying their habits and routines. That's when they notice the man seems to be choking on something, but his wife has her headphones on and is dancing away, completely oblivious to his cries for help. Kelly and Thomas are drenched in nervous sweat, desperate to rush over and warn her.
Call 911. No, they're not gonna get there fast enough. You need to go over there.
Okay. But running over to help would expose their peeping secret. Kelly insists that saving a life has to come first. Just as Thomas is about to head downstairs, the man across the way manages to get his wife's attention, but his wife has no idea how to do the Heimlich maneuver. She keeps slapping his back, which only lodges the object deeper.
Come on, we do it. Come on. Come on. Like this.
Just as the husband is about to pass out, the wife finally figures out the right technique and successfully performs the Heimlich, saving his life. Kelly and Thomas cheer and celebrate for this couple they'd never even met, as if they themselves had just been saved. Kelly is the one who gets the most hooked. She always waits for Thomas to fall asleep at night, then sneaks out of bed to watch the male neighbor across the way. Seeing his muscular build and those chiseled abs stirs something physical inside her. But this little habit of hers actually leads her to discover a secret. The man's wife is going away on a business trip and will be gone for a while. The next day after work, Kelly passes by a department store. A small, unassuming telescope tucked away in a corner catches her eye. With a telescope, they can see everything across the way much more clearly. The man across the street is a photographer. His main job is shooting nude models. Every client who walks through his door is a top-tier beauty in the industry. And with his good looks combined with his well-practiced flirting techniques, he manages to charm every single one of them into spending the night. Watching all this makes Kelly hot and bothered. Despite Thomas's resistance, she can't wait to tear off her boyfriend's clothes. 3 minutes later, Thomas is completely spent. From the disappointment on Kelly's face, it's easy to tell she didn't even get a taste of satisfaction. She picks up the telescope, and what she sees isn't admiration, it's longing. Late at night, Kelly tosses and turns, unable to sleep, unsatisfied and unfulfilled. She feels an emptiness gnawing inside her. She walks out to the balcony once again, and right at that moment, she spots the female neighbor suddenly coming home. The woman rushes eagerly into the bedroom and climbs on top of her husband. Watching this unfold, Kelly feels a pang of jealousy toward the woman next door. Kelly shares this amusing peeping experience with her friends, but during the conversation, she accidentally learns a scandalous secret about her boyfriend. It turns out that back in college, Thomas was so obsessed with a girl he had a crush on that he actually built a crude eavesdropping device. The principle was simple: aim a laser pointer at the target's window glass. When someone speaks, the glass vibrates ever so slightly, and the laser dot picks up those same frequencies. Then the sound is transmitted back through the beam to a recording device. Kelly's eyes light up when she hears this. A bold idea instantly takes shape in her mind. The live visual feed can no longer satisfy her peculiar obsession. If she could actually hear the neighbors' voices too, just the thought of it is thrilling. She can't wait to try it out.
Oh, he done this yet?
Well, Pippa, it's probably illegal, and we can't.
That means they just shot a laser into their apartment. It's just no way to sneak into Brett's studio and perfectly place a mirror behind his window. We're out of luck.
If the laser hits a mirror, the neighbors will never notice it. And as luck would have it, the neighbors are hosting a party tonight. Kelly and Thomas dress up in disguise and successfully sneak in. They secretly use chewing gum to stick a small mirror onto a decoration near the window. Following the same method from his college days, Thomas replicates the exact same laser recording device. When the laser dot hits the mirror across the way, that green beam capable of transmitting sound instantly comes to life. They eagerly switch on the speaker, but what comes through is not what they expected to hear.
Oh, you got your dog.
It turns out that at the party, the wife spotted her husband going into the bathroom alone with another woman. She suspects he's having an affair, but the man flips the script on her, claiming the woman is just a client and that he has to use his charm to keep the money coming in for the family. He accuses his wife of being unsupportive and questioning his work. The woman feels guilty for doubting her husband and starts to back down, but then the man grabs her by the hair and slams her face into the ground. The sound of her glasses shattering mixes with her anguished sobbing. Kelly and Thomas on this side fall into stunned silence. The thrill of peeping vanishes in an instant. Cheating and domestic violence completely shatter the image of the handsome hunk in Kelly's mind. Her life suddenly feels dull and meaningless. But sometimes, fate works in mysterious ways. The female neighbor from across the way actually walks into their eye clinic. Kelly can barely contain her excitement. She enthusiastically goes up to greet her and even picks out a pair of glasses that perfectly suits her style. They've technically never met before, yet it feels like they've been old friends for years. They exchange contact information, and before long, the two become close girlfriends. Through their chats, Kelly learns the woman's name is Julia. She says she and her husband Paul have always had a great relationship, and that her husband's performance in bed is absolutely top-notch. Hearing this, Kelly's expression instantly freezes, because she knows Paul far better than Julia does. Her husband is nothing but a complete and utter hypocrite. Back home, Kelly discusses with Thomas a plan to tell Julia the truth about Paul's affair. She wants to save her friend who's trapped in a prison of a marriage. Thomas firmly opposes this irrational idea. They have no right to interfere in other people's lives, and doing so would completely expose the truth about their peeping.
She doesn't need to be saved. She doesn't need to be saved by you. This is straight up none of your business. Thomas.
Thomas storms out, slamming the door behind him, and heads to the bar downstairs to drink away his frustration. Undeterred, Kelly picks up the telescope once again and continues watching the neighbors' lives unfold. Julia puts on sexy lingerie and reaches out to embrace her husband, but Paul coldly pushes her away, because he's already spent all his energy on that model from earlier in the day, and this scene only deepens the guilt weighing on Kelly's heart. At this moment, she feels like an angel who can't stand to see suffering. Determined to help Julia with whatever little power she has, behind Thomas's back, she secretly turns on the recording equipment, then uses her computer to connect to the neighbor's printer. Kelly sends a message through remote printing, telling Julia that her husband is cheating on her, and that in the bathroom trash can, there's a used condom. By the time Thomas discovers what Kelly has done, it's too late. Julia does find that disgusting thing in the trash can, just as described. And while the couple is still fighting about it, Julia has already walked up to Paul holding a knife.
What do we do? Jesus, are we gonna watch this woman stab this man? I'm calling the cops.
No, you can't call the cops.
I'm calling the cops about to watch a murder that you instituted. I didn't tell her to kill anyone.
Thankfully, Julia doesn't go through with it. Kelly finally lets out a sigh of relief. Otherwise, the guilt would haunt her for the rest of her life. Thomas smashes the telescope, putting a definitive end to this peeping fiasco. Forcing your way into someone else's life will come back to bite you sooner or later. After a night of reflection, Kelly deeply realizes the gravity of her mistake. She makes up her mind to throw away the telescope, cut off all contact with Julia, and from now on, just focus on living her life with her boyfriend. But fate isn't about to let them off that easily. Kelly suddenly sees something horrifying. Julia is dead. She died the very next day. She spared Paul, but she didn't spare herself. Kelly refused to listen to reason and forced her way into someone else's marriage, and it cost an innocent life. Thomas had warned her not to meddle in other people's business, but she just wouldn't listen. And now look what happened. Kelly has become an indirect killer. Thomas places all the blame squarely on Kelly, unable to bear it any longer. He breaks up with her on the spot, packs his bags, and moves out of their apartment. Her boyfriend's reaction breaks Kelly's heart. He was the one who insisted on peeping in the first place. He was the one who built the eavesdropping device. And now that something goes wrong, he dumps all the blame on her. Does Thomas really bear no responsibility at all? That night, Kelly can't help but pick up the telescope one more time. Paul, just like her, is drowning in deep guilt and self-blame. He heads down to the bar to drink his sorrows away. Kelly follows him in, staging what looks like a chance encounter. Paul notices her looking his way and walks over to strike up a conversation. The muscular heartthrob she's always admired is right in front of her. Kelly isn't going to let this opportunity slip away. But the real predator here might not be her. Paul invites Kelly to his place under the pretext of taking photos. Same lines, same moves as always. He uncorks a bottle of vintage Chateau Lafite, then coaxes her into undressing for a nude photoshoot. Kelly is far more willing than any of his previous models, because she's been longing for this day. And sure enough, Kelly ends up spending the night at his place. Meanwhile, Thomas is heading home with flowers, ready to apologize to his girlfriend, only to find the apartment completely empty. He casually grabs a drink from the fridge and takes a big gulp, noticing the taste is strangely off.
Oh, it's fucking disgusting.
This drink is the most important piece of foreshadowing in the entire film. As he's pouring the drink, he accidentally notices the neighbor is fooling around with someone again. Thomas finds it odd. Isn't Paul's wife dead? How does he have someone new already? Curious, he picks up the telescope for a look and sees something that makes his blood run cold. The woman over there isn't a stranger at all. It's his girlfriend, Kelly. The next day, when Kelly returns to the apartment, she finds Thomas dead inside. Everyone assumes this is the price of being a peeping Tom. They believe Kelly is responsible for Julia's death and for Thomas's death. Only her friend Mina thinks it's not all her fault. Before she slept with Paul, it was her boyfriend who initiated the breakup. So technically, Kelly didn't cheat. She may bear some responsibility for the deaths of Thomas and Julia, but it's not entirely her fault. With Nina's encouragement, Kelly's heavy heart begins to lighten. Since things have already come this far, Kelly decides to go find Paul. Maybe they'll start a new family together. Little does she know, This decision will drag her into a point of no return. Today is Paul's art exhibition. Business elites and prominent figures from all walks of life are in attendance. From the podium, Paul introduces his beloved. Kelly assumes he's about to invite her up on stage, but to her utter shock, as the crowd erupts into thunderous applause, Julia walks out from the crowd, alive and well. It turns out this has been their trap all along, and the real star of today's exhibition is Kelly. As the red curtain drops, Kelly's nude photos are displayed before the entire audience.
Oh my god.
From the very first day Kelly and Thomas moved into their new apartment, they had already walked right into the trap that was set for them. Even when Thomas secretly planted the mirror at the party, they had pretended not to notice. And that chance encounter at the eye clinic, every single incident, every single detail, all of it was carefully orchestrated. How else could everything have lined up so perfectly? When you gaze into the abyss gazes right back at you.
Little did she realize, the whole time that they were watching us, we were watching them.
Paul and Julia exploited human greed to craft this perfect masterpiece for their careers. Human nature cannot withstand temptation. Unlucky Kelly and Thomas, this young couple fresh out of college, became nothing more than lab rats in a twisted experiment. Kelly sells off everything she and Thomas once shared, trying to forget this painful chapter and start a new life. Just as she's about to pack away a lantern, she discovers it's filled with bottles of the drink Thomas loved. At first, she doesn't think much of it, but then she notices the wire mesh outside is littered with dead sparrows. It hits Kelly like a lightning bolt. She turns around and sees Julia across the way, waving at her with a sinister grin. This changes everything for Kelly. She realizes Thomas's death was definitely not as simple as it seemed. What comes next is Kelly's moment of revenge. Paul's Voyeur art series sells like wildfire around the world, raking in massive profits and doubling his net worth. A mysterious fan sends them a bottle of expensive wine, expressing hope to be part of the next season of the Voyeur series. The sender is listed as the Tate Gallery. Paul and Julia think nothing of it and drink the wine without hesitation. Then suddenly, the printer starts up on its own. The message reads, "I know Thomas didn't kill himself. You murdered him." Realizing they've been targeted, Paul immediately grabs the telescope and spots Kelly watching them from the rooftop. Kelly deliberately runs, luring them into the eye clinic. Then, pretending to be terrified, she spills every detail of their scheme. It turns out Julia had poisoned the drinks Thomas loved in advance. Even though Thomas noticed something was off with the taste, that single sip was enough to be fatal. Then they strung him up and staged it to look like a suicide. And they didn't do this just to evade the law. It was to add a dramatic twist to their art piece. But just as they're about to silence Kelly for good, Julia suddenly collapses.
Julia! Hey, what did you do? You were a little bit closer. Might take a minute to get going.
Moments later, Paul starts losing consciousness too. He suddenly remembers the wine they just drank. But by now, he's lost all ability to fight back. Nothing more than a lamb awaiting slaughter.
Look at me! Take one final look. This is the last thing you're ever gonna see.
Paul and Julia are each placed on an operating table. Kelly performs cataract surgery on them, free of charge. She uses a laser to destroy the retinas protecting their eyes, locking their world forever in total darkness. Kelly punishes this evil couple in the simplest way possible. They will spend the rest of their lives in a fate worse than death. And with that, the film comes to an end. Peeping itself isn't what's truly terrifying. What's terrifying is our inability to control our own desires, our failure to hold the line on our own morality. The Voyeurs isn't just a thriller or mystery film. It's a profound reflection on human nature and morality. There's no complicated, mind-bending plot, yet it sends chills down your spine more than any mystery ever could. It tells us that curiosity is natural, but desire must have its boundaries. In this age of information overload and social media dominance, we must respect other people's privacy, keep our desires in check, and never let a seemingly harmless curiosity destroy the beautiful life we've built. I'm Jack. I look forward to seeing you next time.